It's November 2004, but it feels like Christmas morning. Why? Because your favorite Christmas book of all time has been adapted to the big screen and is starring an actor who has helped shape your childhood from the role he played in Toy Story. No dummy. Not Polar Express starring Tom Hanks. We're talking about Christmas with the Kranks starring Tim Allen, adapted from Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. But enough about books. Let's get chatting about the movie.
Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where Destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy!
But first, welcome back to Season 2 of Three Films and a Podcast, the show where Destiny commanded three friends to challenge each other's cinematic persuasion by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. My name is Matt Weiler, coming to you from Pleasant Grove, Utah, and I'm joined, as always, by Tyler Beck in
Shreveport, Louisiana. The nicest hotel I could find, I promise.
Traveling, man.
Yeah.
as well as Ben Lawhorn up in Salt Lake City.
Hello.
For those of you new to the show or those returning, our goal as a podcast is to establish a greater movie club community. What started as a discussion in our group chat has evolved into what you're listening to now, a podcast. We've been doing it for a while now, so you can check out pretty much everything that we've done on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can find podcasts. But our favorite is always our YouTube channel. Definitely the best way to consume our product. And we also have a Patreon if that's something that you're interested in. We appreciate any of the support that we can get. But you can find all of that on threefilmspod.com. Without further ado, we want to welcome back one of our very good friends to the pod, Ethan Simmie.
What is up, guys? Thanks for having me back.
What's up, man?
Great to have you back.
Nice of you.
This just popped in my head. So you're 15 minutes of Marvel.
Yep.
And you could think of, like, if we were all the Avengers, if the Three Films pod was the Avengers, I would of course be Thor.
Of course.
I feel like you're kind of like, I feel like you're kind of our Ant-Man. Like,
It's so nice of you.
You know what
Is
I
that
mean?
a compliment?
Well, I was going to say, if you went Hawkeye, he was just going to log out.
I would
It's like,
erupt. I would walk
gone.
out of the show
I'm done.
right now.
Let me see if I can put this together. But like, I was thinking about Josh, like, you know, he's been on the show a bunch. Like, we've had a couple of returning guests, like Jacob's been around for a few, but like Ethan, I don't know. I was like, he's like our Ant-Man. He's only been on a couple of our shows, but they've been really good. You know, he's a great addition to the show. So yeah, we're happy to have you back.
I like
Oh
it.
man, that means so much. I'm so glad that I can be Ant-Man, and especially, you know, when you guys asked me to be part of this episode, I almost crapped my pants because I was like, wow, I get to talk about my favorite Christmas movie of all time for an hour. This is heaven. It's fantastic. I can't wait.
I'm excited that
yeah.
you're here. I remember, listening to like Final Take, and you guys did like your best of Christmas, and you picked this number one. And Austin was just like, what? Like, he knew it was coming, but it was still like too much. And that was before I think we had really even talked or anything. I was like, what is this movie? I've never even heard of this. So when Matt picked it, I was like, well, I know who's coming on. Like, if there's no point in asking anybody else. So I'm glad you're here.
Had to be done, man. You know, I try to stand firm with those lowest graded ever Rotten Tomatoes movies. Someone's got to be a fan. And, you know, I do what I can.
You gotta
And
be a voice for the people.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Voice for the people. Yeah.
So I actually didn't even look. I'm going to look at this right now. I don't know what this was rated, but you know,
5%.
keep going around me.
5%.
On Rotten Tomatoes?
Critic score 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Abhorrent. Just atrocious.
That's amazing.
Well, we can talk about this in a minute,
Yeah,
but that's bananas.
Well, before I get into this round of Christmas, I just wanted to highlight, and believe me, PepsiCo is not paying us for this, but I got the Ginger Snapped
Ooh.
Mountain Dew. It's not very good.
I was just going to ask.
So I shouldn't buy it for my road trip.
If you want a good review, pay me next time.
You get a different
But
review.
well, if you like ginger beer, it's
All right.
kind of more like ginger beer. It's less like ginger ale, more like ginger beer. So
Okay.
if that's your thing,
No. It is not.
Get some ginger snaps. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, in the Mountain Dew side of it's not very good either. So anyways,
terrible.
But I guess to get back on course, we wanted to do something a little bit different as a podcast. We had the genius idea to do something that hasn't been done, which is focused primarily on Christmas movies to ring in the holiday season on our podcast.
The patent's available. We can get it.
Yeah.
Genius.
I was surprised. I thought for sure, but it's like, no, we were the first ones that ever thought of it.
Yeah.
And I was super excited. Just like, all right, let's do it. Christmas movies. Where I guess we're doing this.
Someone's got to do it, guys. Someone has to do it.
And what better to be the very first Christmas movie ever talked about on a podcast?
Exactly. Christmas with the Kranks.
Deserves it.
And let's start off with a little bit of trivia. This is based on a book called Skipping Christmas. It was changed to Christmas with the Kranks to avoid confusion with another movie called Surviving Christmas, which was also another box office trasher starring Ben Affleck.
Whoa.
And so
brutal.
Both bombed. But the thing is, like, and I felt this way about John Carter as well. To give people a recap, you can go listen to our John Carter episode, but they opted not to bring in Mars because they felt like Mars is too obscure and weird. And so it's like, so you named it John Carter? Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, I want to go see John Carter. I feel like this movie's the same. It's like, could they have thought of a stupider title? Christmas with the Kranks.
Yeah. It's pretty tough. I mean, I thought it was like a Tom Arnold movie. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And so, yeah.
I feel like he was like plan C, I think if Tim Allen didn't do it, I don't know who would have been next. Maybe like John Goodman or someone. And it's like, all right, let's get Tom Arnold. Like, we need a TV dad. Let's go. We need to find somebody. I forgot this was based on the John Grisham book, but I do appreciate that they reminded us 10 times throughout the movie that skipping Christmas. Like,
I am simply skipping Christmas. So you're saying Frohmeyer has a problem with our skipping Christmas?
Skipping Christmas? Cranks are skipping Christmas.
Skipping Christmas.
Your stupid, ridiculous, childish scheme of skipping Christmas.
Well, I thought you were skipping Christmas this year, Mr. Crank.
Skipping Christmas. What a stupid idea.
Okay, we got it. We understand. That's what this
message received
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
they're skipping Christmas. Yeah. But I was reminded that, like, I never saw Surviving Christmas, and to have like a year where two like sort of like high profile Christmas movies come out and have both bomb is pretty significant. Like,
yeah,
kind of want to check it out. But of course, this is coming off. Didn't Elf come out in like 2003 or 2002? Like,
sounds right. Yeah.
I think it was 2003.
And it's hard to make a Christmas movie coming off of like a generational Christmas movie like Elf.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's nuts. I think like we all grew up with what we grew up with, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of them later on our Rushmore. But it's like, I think in your mind, you're like, okay, well, Home Alone was like the last Christmas movie. It's like after that, like we'll just watch everything from Home Alone back, and that's it. But then like Elf comes along, it's like, all right, well, this is now in the rotation, and that's kind of nuts to like make something that good that it just becomes part of the holiday season. I think that's very rare to have happen. And yeah, that's just, it's what do you do like the next year? It's like, all right, well, hopefully people like this as much as Elf, but I don't
Where's
know.
Ben Affleck? So Ethan, what was your personal experience with this movie? As we've already stated, this is one of your favorites. Walk us through your experience with it.
You just want to know the underlying reason why anybody would make this their favorite Christmas
movie. Hold our
movie
hand through it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, essentially, I have a terrible memory, so I can't tell you when the first time I saw it. I can't tell you that it was like, gifted to me on a golden platter by someone and said like, this is Christmas. Here you go. For as long as I can remember, my wife and I have watched it, and basically, I feel like you always have that one Christmas movie where you just like dig your feet in and you're like, this is my Christmas movie. And, a lot of people have the same ones. We got, Home Alones and Die Hard, if you want to do that route, and all of that stuff.
There's a lot of Jingle All the Way people out there. Shout out to Jingle All the Way folks.
Shout out Jingle All the Way. And I think personally, I think I am a really big Tim Allen fan of this kind of phase of his career. I think he's coming off the Santa Claus 2, came out 2 years before this movie. Did the Santa Claus in 99. So like he's kind of, I mean, he's the Christmas guy. Like I don't know if if anybody that high profile has made that many Christmas movies. I think it's absurd. But I don't know. It just kind of turned into this movie every year. Like this is my movie, and this is the first movie that kicks off the holiday season. So like once you watch Christmas with the Kranks, you're like full go, full send for Christmas vibes. And I think personally that it's just stupid enough where I'm like, this is fantastic. This is so dumb, but it's so amazing. And, you know, we'll talk about all kinds of stuff, but like the Botox scene, it's absurd. It makes no sense. It's so ridiculous, but it's so freaking funny every single time. It's crazy.
It's funny. Like I kept flipping back and forth. So the first time I ever watched this movie was literally tonight. Like I just finished it before I logged on with you guys. And like, I kept going back and forth between I hate Matt. Why did he make me do this? I'm kidding.
It's a common sentiment. Those of you familiar with the pod, this is an ongoing thing.
I was just like, man, and this is Ethan's favorite movie, but then something would happen where I was like, oh no, this movie's aware of itself, and this is like funny. Like it's
right.
The movies. There was times when the movie seemed in on the joke, and then there was times where it forgot it was the joke, and that was like the thing for me. I was like, I just don't know if it's silly enough for me to like buy into the silliness, or if you know what I mean. Like I couldn't figure out what it was actually trying to do. I had fun with it. You know, I don't think it deserves 5 tomatoes or whatever, 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I agree. Like Tim Allen is like, he's like the guy for this role. Like for some reason you like him. I don't really know why I like him. He's like kind of a grump. He's like just like a weird, like normal. He's just like a dad. You know what I mean? He's just like.
I like how he never plays like a nice man. Like he's always like sort of this. Like
he always has a stick up his butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so it just for whatever reason he's just, despite it like in real life, if that was your neighbor, you'd be super bummed, right? Like I wouldn't want to be neighbors with Tim Allen, but for whatever reason I can't fully hate his characters. And I think he like toes that line really well. And so, yeah, for me, I mean, I had a good time watching it. And, you know, it's always fun to see. It's not my favorite Tim Allen role, but it was fun to watch him do some Tim Allen stuff.
For sure.
I think too, for me, another reason that I like it so much is like, sometimes a lot of Christmas movies, right at their core are essentially about, you know, family and friendship and all of these really, really nice things that get us in the Christmas spirit. But I think Christmas with the Kranks, it kind of just has about 5 minutes of like, hey, I was kind of a jerk and here's something really nice that I'm going to do for you. And I love Christmas. And then the rest of the hour and 25 minutes is just like dumb, like I don't like Christmas, but it's Christmas. Let's go on a cruise. Let's go get a tan. Let's go eat fish tacos at a Mexican restaurant in the mall.
You know what's odd? Is when an Irish pub serves fish tacos. I don't get that.
Like, you know, it doesn't directly sit in the same vein as a lot of other really, really popular Christmas movies, I feel like.
Oh, for sure.
I will second that. The whole episode, I was gonna do Tim Allen's toast.
I was like,
to whatever anybody before me says.
I was Lee. I was like, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing.
That goes for me double.
Yeah, it goes for me double. You remember exactly what he said. But.
Same goes for me double.
Yeah, this was the first watch for me too. This was like not something that I had like avoided, but definitely not something that I had sought out by any means. So just like, yeah, I don't know, just wasn't going to get around to it. I didn't think, yeah, I don't know. I honestly, like, I know it was a joke, but kind of like everything I was thinking of is what Tyler said. It was just like, I was watching it. Basically, I went in with like insanely low expectations. I expected to hate it. And when I didn't, I found myself surprised. I was like, oh, do I like this or do I just like not hate it? You know, and I think there are times where I just kind of like rode that line a little bit. Like, I don't know that it's going to like it surprised me like Mixed Nuts did. That really caught me off guard, like how much I was like super on board with it the whole time. But I will say, like, I will rewatch this. Like I had a good time with it. I think, like Ethan said, this is like prime Tim Allen when this is going on, which is kind of nuts. And I got thinking about it. It's just like, he was just kind of like the America's dad at that point, with Home Improvement stuff. Like he had just taken the throne from Danny Tanner, who had taken it from Cliff Huxtable, So it's just like, it's like, yeah, this is like the guy. This is what he does. We all know him. So it all like makes sense that he's playing this role. I did think it was just like, it's so nuts though to like cast him in a Christmas movie after the Santa Claus. Cause I know we just talked about like Home Alone being like the last real, addition to the Christmas like lexicon. But I think the Santa Claus did a pretty good job too, though. That was a pretty good movie. And so then to the sequel to come out and then to have him in a different one, it's just like, it's like having Tom Holland and whatever the next Spider-Man is, but he's not Spider-Man. Like he's, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's gotta be
Harry
weird.
Osborn.
Like, yeah, it's just like kind of, I don't know, kind of strange, but I had a good time with it. I honestly, I just feel like I'm echoing everything Tyler said, because there were times it felt like they were in on the joke and they kind of knew what they were doing. But then there were also times it was like very sincere and earnest, and it just like kind of caught me off guard, like there were that last scene. I mean, kind of like got me choked up, and I did not see that coming.
Same.
When he goes across the street, it's like, man, what? This movie's doing this to me? Like I
It's
did
the
not
magic of
predict that
Christmas.
at all.
It's the magic of Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but and then like we got the I don't know, slapstick kind of humor, like the funny like physical comedy, I guess, that we kind of get, with like the tanning salon. Like one of my favorites is that first like going into the grocery store scene. There's just like little stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I like what this is doing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like a lot of stuff, it probably didn't hit me like Mixed Nuts did, but I will rewatch this. Like I had a good time with it.
Those listening who like this movie, you can rest easy because Ethan is in good company. I also really like this movie. And I acknowledge the bad parts as well, similar to Ethan. Like there's parts where you're watching, you're like, this is dumb, this isn't funny. And there's some Tim Allenisms that the comedy then like warranted it and like justified like why he was doing some of the stuff he was doing, the mannerisms, like that type of comedy that just hasn't aged, to right now. And so it's like, oh, I'm actually kind of embarrassed. Like I'd like to watch this movie with Tim Allen and like look at him during those parts. You're just like,
like, what do you think of this? Yeah.
Think about what you've done.
Well, what were you doing?
The biggest moment for me, and it's funny because I know Ethan loves this moment, but like I hated the Botox scene. And I think that's what you're talking about. That's like the prime Tim Allenism. It was just like, do we get it? Like, I don't know.
That scene is so goddamn stupid and ridiculous because we understand, like, we've seen you eat 10 peaches. We know that you got Botox, and then you drink water, and then you try to eat peaches again. What are you doing? Just stop it. Just give up.
This to me.
I do think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I would say this to me is like when a comedian tells a joke too long, but to the point where like he gets the crowd back. It's just like
sure.
You're in the middle of it, you're like, no, I got it. Like this is like what's going on, and then like he keeps going. It's like, all right, it's kind of funny how much he's doing this actually. Like you got me, I'm back. Like that's what it was for me. Because like at the first I'm like, oh, it's kind of a funny, like whatever, and then he keeps doing it. It's like, okay, still like we're still doing this joke, and then comes the water. It's like, you got me, I'm back, dude.
Some people say he's still trying to eat those damn peaches. I do wonder if I had seen this like earlier when it came, like my family, like a lot of families do have a tradition where we would watch movies together on Christmas. We'd always watch the same ones. I've talked about that a bunch. And I do wonder if this had made the rotation when I was younger, if it would land different with me.
Be a little more endearing.
Yeah. I do think it is one of those movies that's kind of like, it's got to sink its claws into you before you get old and jaded with gray in your beard.
Right.
Yeah. And look, I understand why John Grisham named them the Kranks. Haha. They're cranky, whatever. We get it. But they shouldn't have put Kranks in the title. For those of you who've like put this off because it sounds dumb, like we get it. It does sound dumb. Give this one a chance. Let me tell you why. You got Dan Aykroyd in it. You've got Cheech. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, and you really do have like a lot of sweet Christmas moments peppered in there that you might not have expected. I mean, this is a Grinch story. It's a Scrooge story. And if you're into that and you're into a nice Christmas payoff at the end, like this should be your jam. Speaking of, I wanted to get into sort of what makes, a good Christmas movie, what that Christmas recipe is. And I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on sort of, what makes a good Christmas movie, and wanted to hit Ethan first on that.
That is a really loaded question, Matt. I feel like
it is a loaded question.
You're really trying to encapsulate a lot when you talk about Christmas movies as a whole.
I'm trying to expose you. That's what I'm trying to do.
For the fraud that I am, I'm a faker.
Don't do this to our Ant-Man. We need him.
No.
This is a gotcha think piece.
Yeah. No more Ant-Man for you. I mean, like, I just saw, I think it's called White Christmas, is the other, very, very popular musical
Crosby
old movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just saw that for the first time last year. And so, like, asking me what goes into a Christmas movie, I mean, that's like, 50 or 60 years of like classics that you're trying to kind of like figure out the formula. I think much like a lot of people, I put a lot of weight on the music. I mean, you gotta have a banger soundtrack. You gotta have really good music. If you play any Christmas song whatsoever, the many that are played in this, or in the case of like Die Hard, you play one Christmas song at the very beginning. That's a Christmas movie to me. You've passed the threshold because I'm not going to a summer blockbuster. I'm not going to see The Green Knight and getting Here Comes Santa Claus blasted over the theater speakers. That's the official Christmas. I also think at your core, regardless if you spend a very little amount of time or the entirety of the movie, it has to be essentially about selflessness and compassion and family. There has to be some kind of turn or pivot into that realm of where that is your sole focus of the story that you're telling. And I think that is like Christmas encapsulated into like a tone or a vibe of a movie. And I think without that, you kind of overshoot, the Christmas theme, even if it's snowing, set during Christmas time, whatever. You kind of have to have those two very core elements, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think the selfless side of it kind of, leads into mine, which is just like kind of the sense of community. I feel like that kind of makes the Christmas movie because it's just kind of everyone bonding over it. Like even some of the ones that we've talked about today where it's like Home Alone, and the neighbors like kind of help protect him, or Elf when everyone starts singing at the end, or Santa Claus, just all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's a sense of belief and community, because usually there is kind of like the in the Christmas Carol, like there's the bah humbug Ebenezer who's just like not into it, but it's everyone around them that make them realize like, oh, this is actually a cool thing to partake in. And that's exactly what this whole movie is. I mean, I will say that neighborhood would be a fucking nightmare to live in. Like as upset as these people got that they're just like, we're gonna take one Christmas off and go on a cruise, and they're like, what? Are you kidding me? Like the whole town turns on them. It's like, man, you guys love Christmas. This is insane. I would not want to live here at all. But we jump into the third act, and obviously it all pays off because we're able to pull everything together. So for me, I guess that's kind of what like is at the core of a lot of the Christmas movies, is just the sense of community around the holiday.
For sure. I mean, I like you, Ben. I got choked up at the cruise exchange scene. You know what I mean? Because I joked to Alex, I'm like, babe, this movie right here, this is why we move every couple of years, like, so we don't ever have to deal with this. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think that's why it hit me so hard at the end, because I was like, oh, I'm going to be the old man with no one because I just keep moving around. You know what I mean? Sure. So, I mean, I don't really think that's going to happen. I'll always have 3 films pod and my Ant-Man. But
yes.
It's just, it's just like, oh shit, like it really does drive home that the whole community thing. And I think, like, while you guys were talking, I think to me, this movie seems like something that was a good idea that got ruined with studio notes, because you could almost like pick every scene in this movie and be like, oh, they pulled this from this movie. They pulled this from here. Like it seems to me, it's like, oh, they took Christmas Vacation and just swapped it, rather than trying to decorate to create cheer. They're trying to like avoid decorating to like not spread the cheer, and they're going to leave versus having the family come in. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of seemed like, okay, they're doing the opposite Christmas Vacation. Tim Allen is like the Coke versus Pepsi version of Chevy Chase. You know what I mean? Like Chevy Chase is one, he's the other. I was just like, and various other moments in the movie, I'm like, okay, they pulled this from here. There was like stuff from Home Alone when he's sabotaging the house, like it's like, I just feel like they took a really cool idea for a unique story that they could have told. And they're like, no, but you have to make it more like this. You have to throw this in, you have to throw that in, you have to, and so it seems like if heart is what makes a Christmas movie, the reason this movie fails is because they sucked all the heart out of it, trying to shoehorn in. They were trying to create moments rather than just letting the story find its moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think like when you ask like what the recipe of this movie is, it's like, well, just go watch every popular Christmas movie and just take your favorite moments and then watch, that's this movie right here. So
that makes sense.
I don't know if I'm right about that, but that's just how I feel.
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of Christmas movies do try to like just borrow from the classics. They're trying to hit the same beats. But I do agree with the consensus that like music and like that overall like togetherness feeling, like for Christmas is one of those like interesting holidays where like religious or secular, there's like something more than you and something more than, it elevates everybody. And a movie that can like sort of encompass that can like be a really successful Christmas movie. And I think that's the secret ingredient, because like Ethan said, like you can put snow and lights on and make a really bad Christmas movie that doesn't hit any of that. And it's just like, it doesn't work. And so, and to me, like I love a Christmas movie with, just a bomb soundtrack. But also, I just wanted to highlight that this movie was written by Chris Columbus, Mr. Home Alone himself.
Yeah.
And so Chris, thank you. And please like subscribe, on all your accounts. And
yeah, I mean, maybe that invalidates my whole theory, because you'd think he'd have enough clout to like push back on shitty notes, or maybe he just needed his like kids needed to go to college or something. He's like, whatever, just give me the paycheck.
Well, I didn't read the book, so I don't know what the source material was. But I mean, if he deviated from the source material, I could see him being like, well, this worked in Home Alone.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true. Yeah, that's fair.
Like John Grisham comes back with notes like, oh, sorry, did you do Home Alone? No? Okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll just leave this as it is, Like, oh, I forgot, did you direct Harry Potter 1? No?
Oh, did you worm your way into the hearts of America? I didn't think so.
Did you direct Harry Potter 1? Maybe don't tell me about magic. Okay?
Yeah,
don't try to teach me about magic.
Not me, not Hermione, you.
Oh, man.
John Grisham. Huh. You wrote, let me see, one Christmas book? Okay.
What a ridiculous run that Chris Columbus has, though, because in 01, 02, and 04, he does all 3 Harry Potter movies. He executive produces the first 3 Harry Potter movies. And then right after Prisoner of Azkaban, he goes on to do Christmas with the Kranks. And then right after that, in 05, he goes on to be an executive producer of Fantastic Four. So... maybe he peaked too early, and maybe he got really
just trailed off there at the end.
Tough. That's a really tough tale.
Hey, I was ready for something else.
If I'm Chris Columbus, if I'm Chris Columbus and I finish up doing Harry Potter, you better believe I'm doing Kranks. I'm going right into Kranks.
You better believe it.
You got to do it,
dude. But then my guy goes on to executive produce The Lighthouse in 2019. You can't put a pin on this guy. It's insane. He's all over the board. I love it.
I mean, he got plenty of stuff.
He does take chances.
Eat that, Grisham.
Yeah, take that. Although I will say, John Grisham does get one of my favorite lines in any movie from Orange County. So I do love that. When the dean's wife comes and talks to him, he's like,
Do you like John Grisham? I sure do.
He's like trying to be like a real writer. It's like, yeah, he's fine, I guess. I don't know. But John Grisham, though, like, this is a quick tangent. He was the first author that made me feel like I was reading adult books, because I was like in elementary and I got like a copy of The Client or something like that. I think it was in 6th grade, and I was like, oh, this is like a real book, you know? And I mean, he's John Grisham for a reason. He does do great stuff. And I think he's a great transition period for people, you know, to like, okay, this is maybe what more like serious books are all about. But this Skipping Christmas was like, I also haven't read it, but it's so different than anything else he had ever done. So, I mean, obviously they made a movie on it, you know, and maybe it's with the Grisham name trying to like draw that in. But yeah, I don't know. The fact that they got Chris Columbus to help write this, I think, is kind of what sells it. I'm still shocked, though, that it's at 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, that's absurdly low to me. That's crazy. Like, this is unfair. Not that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree. And John Grisham, by all means, please like and subscribe.
Yeah.
We didn't mean anything. We didn't mean any of that.
I did a report on Pelican Brief in high school. So
nice.
My guy.
We're pals.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess before we get into the elevator pitch, the 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, if you looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score as you're listening to this episode, like you're weighing whether to watch this or not, we'll give you our elevator pitch. But I'm watching this movie, and there were some 5% scenes.
Yeah,
sure.
But like 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, most of the movie is enjoyable. And it is like, it's not like any other Christmas movie. So like, it is something unique. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm going to keep saying that.
Yeah.
But I guess moving into our elevator pitch, Ethan, if there was one pull from this movie that you could just impose on someone, what would it be?
Well, real quick, before I do my elevator pitch, can I mention something real quick about the 5% scenes?
Please do.
So I think you're totally right. If someone hasn't seen it, though, what I think this movie does really well, actually, is it has a lot of really bright Tim Allen just being Tim Allen spots that are like so low key and under the radar, where only after you've seen it 15 times can you be like, yeah, that's pretty funny. That's good stuff. You know, specifically,
I have to watch
like
this movie 15 times.
25 preferably really would be where you're trying to go. But
a quarter century, jeez.
You know,
right.
if you got to go less, I think like when Tim Allen is talking to his neighbor Walt, and Walt asks him, "Oh, so you know, he's still working for the man?" And Tim Allen says, "As a matter of fact, it is a man that I work for." That's comedy gold right there. That's comedy gold. And I just wanted to shout that out and get that out on the podcast into the world. My elevator pitch is going to be essentially everything that takes place in the mall. So there's a very kind of a 3-part scene really that takes place in the mall. They meet for lunch and they decide to go tanning. They go to a tanning salon. They see Father Zabriskie, and the entire mall is very concerned that they are getting tanned and that they are skipping Christmas. And then immediately after that, they go eat more food and have the Botox scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, to me, is like, watch this movie for 5 minutes. You're going to see that it's really dumb, but you're also going to see that it's kind of funny, and like you're kind of curious as to like what's going to happen next and maybe how the rest of the story plays out. But I think that whole scene is a good range for both Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis to kind of show their skill set of who they are in this movie. And I even asked my wife, I told her like, hey, what's the elevator pitch scene? And she didn't even stutter. She goes, tanning salon. And I was like, yes, that is it right there.
It's 100%. I mean, that's my answer to. And honestly, like, I think like the base carnal side of me is just like, yeah, we get Jamie Lee Curtis in a 2-piece. Like, this is the scene that I would go back to, you know, like, this is fantastic. But it also genuinely lets her like show her comedic chops in this scene, which like we get some humor in the rest of it, but she is more of like the like neurotic, you know, either like, oh, daughter's coming home, we gotta get ready, or like whatever, but the tanning salon specifically is kind of where she gets to be funny and humorous. And I think that's great because, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is both of those things. I will say, though, also, anytime I see like the tanning bed like that, I just think of Final Destination. Like, I don't think that I will ever not think of that, I was like, no, don't get in there. It's like, it just like freaks me out every time. It's like, you can't put these in movies anymore because they've ruined it. But yeah, without a doubt, I think that's the way to go. And then so much of it is about Jamie Lee Curtis, but then we do get like the punch up at the very end with Tim Allen coming out, and the whole crowd is gathered and stuff. Like, it's a good encapsulation, I think, of like the funny stuff that comes from this movie, is just like specifically in that tanning salon scene.
Yeah. It's hard not to pick a scene that revolves around Jamie Lee Curtis, because I feel like, for me personally, she was the reason I stayed like bought in the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene that I would show is when Tim Allen pitches the cruise to her, because it was important to me that, like, to see that she was still into him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it could have easily been like tension in the relationship, and this was the cruise that was going to save their marriage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was no spark in their relationship. I was like, oh shit, they actually like love each other. She's into this dude. Like, if JLC can see something good in this guy, then I can stay with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And his pitch about the cruise was pretty solid. They're going to save
pretty good
50% of their budget. They're going to, like, they're going to get away from all this. I was like, I'm in. I'm sold on his idea, and I'm sold on their relationship. And so, like, I'm bought in. So I think that's the scene I would show.
It was funny how much he didn't care, though. He's like, what are you doing? Button up. Like, look at this.
That is by far and away the best single line from the movie.
What are you doing? Sit down. Sit down. Button up and sit down.
What are you doing? Sit down and button up is so stupid, so funny. It's absurd. But you make a really good point, because I noticed when I rewatched it that they set out a dinner place for Blair as well. Because Blair had just like flown out. So I think it's interesting and very telling of their relationship that the very first night that Blair is gone, Jamie Lee Curtis just assumes, she goes, it's not even Saturday night. Like, we're doing this. Like, let's go. Yeah. And like, she is of the mindset of like, she can be swayed to go on this cruise and to skip Christmas. Yeah. Like, probably deep down, that's probably actually really what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. But a lot of outside forces are telling her otherwise. But yeah, Tim Allen doing that and then telling her to sit down and button up is ridiculous. It's so good.
I just want to take a sec to throw out my favorite single line from this movie. It is the grocery store scene, and I'm sure Ethan will correct exactly. I will butcher it, so to speak. But he's like, "Did you ask Rex? Like, who's Rex?" The butcher's like, "I didn't think to ask the butcher where the chocolate was." No, just like the delivery on there. He's like, "No, I didn't think to ask the butcher about the chocolate." I love that line so much. I'm like, yes, this is the Tim Allen that I like. He's like, nope, didn't even think about that. I love that line.
Funny. What? You didn't get the white chocolate.
I didn't have it.
What, did you talk to Rex?
Who's Rex?
The butcher.
As odd as it sounds, I didn't think of asking the butcher where the chocolate was.
Those are great. And honestly, like watching Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis, like, and observing like my parents and like my in-laws now, like there is more of like the what are you doing? Like, but no, like just like it seems like so like rude in some ways, but like it's also genuine. Like, once you're at that part of your relationship, like those cues aren't as obvious, or you're just like less patient, and it's just like it's funny. But my favorite scene, Jamie Lee Curtis. The thing is, okay, this is a great movie to use as a case for Jamie Lee Curtis's range, because here you have an actress who has been a part of many young men's awakening, as our dear friend Brian shared with us on the pod, sitting next to his father during True Lies. But then you also have like her, her great current roles, like in Knives Out, where she's playing a very different, type of role. And then this one where, like Ben said, like she's just like pretty neurotic, like this Christmas mom, and it's great. And so my favorite scene is the Hickory Honey Ham ordeal, and just like the full thing of that, to the grocery store, out into the parking lot, into the street, and even into the house when Tim Allen dares ask her about the Hickory Honey Ham.
Smoked trout.
Better than frozen pizza.
What happened to the Hickory Honey Ham?
Never say Hickory Honey Ham again.
Ooh.
You've been in that situation though, right? Like shopping, like that's happened to me, not like that dramatic, but like I remember actually when Alex and I lived in Austin, we were going to rent kayaks and paddle boards from this little dock that was by our house on the river. And we were walking up and there was a hostel that's in the same park. Like there's a hostel right next to the river. And we saw this woman come out leading a group of people from the hostel, and we like made eye contact and we like looked at the dock, looked back at each other, and both of it like we both sort of like walking faster to get there. And they beat us to the dock, but there was so many people checking in that we got our kayaks first. So
nice.
It always works out. It's
You
all
had to
coming up
strike
no
the
house
woman,
over here.
but
yeah.
No.
That's awesome. I was just gonna say, like, between this tanning salon scene and Susan Sarandon and Rocky Horror, season 2 is just started out with a bang for me.
Yeah, man.
You know, talk about Brian and his awakening. Like, oh, this is great. I love it. But I gotta know, Matt, did your pick for this, was it did it just stem from Jamie Lee Curtis? Is that why you picked this, or what was the thought process behind that?
I can't remember exactly why we picked it. It's possible that you had mentioned that Ethan had brought it up at some point and that you hadn't seen it. And I was like, perfect. There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a movie and a guest already.
Yeah.
Booyah.
I think it really did.
Package deal.
Yeah,
I like
exactly. It. So we have an award on our show. If you've been listening for the last little while, we've introduced it recently. It's called the Apollonia Award, inspired by Purple Rain, where Apollonia plays a very great supporting role that we felt went unsung. And so the way that we're going to sing it is by creating an award after her. But it's essentially our way of giving the award to any movie that has an unsung supporting role. And so I want to hear what you guys, who you feel like earned the Apollonia Award. We're going to kick it off with Ethan.
Well, I feel like I have to go. I feel like this is kind of a classic route, but I have to go with Walt Scheel from Scheel from Across the Road. You mentioned
Walt goes hard.
Walt fucks in this movie big time, and honestly, like he's the man. And I think when you're watching this movie, the storyline is quite shallow in general. Like there's really not a whole lot you can pick apart or dissect or whatever you might do. But I think Bev and Walt have a very interesting life and a very interesting dynamic, necessarily because in the very end, you find out a lot about Walt and Bev that you don't know beforehand. And when Luther's trying to give them the cruise, and we have this whole scene where he says they're having a very hard time looking for an excuse. I mean, think about Walt. His wife, Bev, just got news that cancer is back for the 3rd time. She has good days and bad days, and I'm sure Walt's life is dependent on those good days and bad days. Their son hasn't been home for Christmas in years. Who knows if that's years or decades or whatever the case may be. They're looking for an excuse and they just default like to their cat. Walt wants to take this cruise, but he's just waiting for like Bev's approval to say, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
And that she's okay. And I do think too, in order for Luther to feel good about giving him the cruise, like Luther cares for him on some level at least, and loves him, right? And Walt giving him all of this crap all the time, calling him an old man and kind of busting his balls a little bit. I think it is a great relationship, and Walt's not anywhere near the forefront of this movie. I mean, if you're talking about characters, you've got Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then you start going down to Dan Aykroyd and everybody, and you've got Blair and the boyfriend, and everybody kind of involved in the party side of things. And Walt's just kind of chilling at home with Bev. Look, Walt fucks in this movie. What else can you say? That's it.
And did they not, like, why weren't they invited to the party? Every other neighbor was there. Did I miss something? Like, because
they were
Bev
on their
was
way,
sick, or what's the deal?
Yeah, they were on their way, and then it got snowy, and they just stayed in because Bev was sick.
Yep.
Okay.
Which also like
I'm not going to sit and pick nits on this movie. So
pick nits.
This might speak more to me if I was in the Tim Allen role or whatever, but like this neighborhood was so unhinged that when she found out that Bev had cancer, I was like, it's a fucking ploy. They just don't want her to miss this Christmas, so they're going to pretend someone has cancer, so they stay here. Like that's honestly, that was my first thought. I was like, she doesn't have cancer. They're just fucking with her to get her to stay here for Christmas.
You're a tool, man. Wow, that's terrible.
1,000 times better.
I know it would, but honestly, like this neighborhood is so unhinged. Like, where's Frosty? Like everyone's freaking out. It's like, let's pretend Bev has cancer. That'll get him to stay. It's like,
okay,
or if they fake Bev's death.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that would have been great.
Weekend at Bev's. Look, Ben,
Ruth.
if you want to go this route, I had an idea last night that I think fits this kind of tone of things, and it is absurd and ridiculous, and nobody should ever think this in their life. But when Luther goes over to Walt's house and gives them the cruise, and we see the finale and everything, the very final of the third act. Right before this takes place, right before he thinks to himself, I should go give this away, we see him pouring another glass of wine. And obviously his speech is not very heartfelt or not very present. Mm-hmm. My take is that from that moment on, when we see him pouring the other glass of wine, basically after that, it's all just a hallucination of what could have happened, but didn't actually happen because he drank too much and he just passed out and fell asleep at home. But that's what he wanted to do, but it never actually happened. So the whole movie's a sham.
He pours the wine, he goes and he looks out the window and he sees Bev and Walt across the street, and that's when the daydream starts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right then at the end, it goes back to him at looking at the window and be like,
I think you may have watched this too closely to The Green Knight, where it's like, let's give them this fake ending of what might happen, and then let's show them what actually
spoilers.
happened.
Exactly.
Some of us haven't seen Green Knight yet.
Oh, my bad. I'll take it out of the pod. You don't even hear it. It's all good.
Oh, okay.
Great Christmas movie.
I had Cheech Marin down for mine just because I love Cheech Marin so much, so like anytime he shows up, I'm like, oh, I love that. But honestly, I think like the third act hero here for me was Spike, and I think that's who I give my Apollonia to, because he really just kind of came through in the end. Like we see a little of him at the beginning, and then like all the phone calls, and then he just like he starts to help him with the Christmas tree, and then he's on board. It's like, okay, like Spike's awesome, which I believe was, I didn't watch Malcolm in the Middle all the time, but was that Dewey?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that was kind of cool. Like, be like one of the more famous or well-known TV sons, interacting with one of the more well-known TV dads. Yeah. Then his dad in the movie being Dan Aykroyd was kind of cool, because we get that little like tiny Ghostbusters nod when Tim Allen's talking about him. It's like, oh, who's he going to call? I was like, oh, all right. I like that. That's like, that's subtle. It's not subtle, but it's like, it's quick enough that it's just like, we're moving on after that. It's like, okay, cool. I like that they did that. So I'd probably give mine to Spike.
Yeah. I was tempted to go with, Dan Aykroyd, because I feel like I just love the way that he like sort of just ran that community. I thought it was hilarious. That was like one of the funnier things to me. And like him playing the accordion at the end is just like so Dan Aykroyd.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody.
It was another good like music moment in a Christmas movie. Like, I made me think of Mixed Nuts. I was like, oh, okay, like when Matt picks a Christmas movie, it's gonna have a cool little music moment.
Yeah. Well, on that note, so I gave my elevator pitch, but my favorite scene is actually the Santa or the dude and the Peruvian singing their jig. I love that scene. That. Like that was like my favorite part of the movie, and for that reason, the Santa character, or Marty, he's my Apollonia Award. Got to give it to him. I like how he brought the Hickory Honey Ham. Mm-hmm. I like how it comes full circle and like who he's been throughout the movie. He knows everybody. He was mine. But I just wanted to, before we move on to Tyler's, I wanted to point out there was a scene that reminded me of one of Ben's like childhood experiences in Scouts, when Spike and Tim Allen like goes and basically like tackles Spike.
Yeah, that was
it. Just reminded me like, well, it's like not like super unrealistic, because like we grew up in a community where like volunteers were expected out of, our neighbors, no matter their temperament. And so you had people who were not qualified at all to be leading children or youth, especially like punk youth. And it reminded me of throwing the sleeping bag and like knock you over.
Oh, for sure. And I was thinking of a different one because we had my neighbor who had like the shortest fuse ever. And then like, they're like, let's put them in charge of the teenage boys. I think that makes sense, you know? And then like, so this adult man who was my literal next door neighbor got into a fight with a kid that was my age. It was, I mean, I'll take this out, man, but it was and they got into like a physical fight together, and like was like a big teenager, like he was like fucking tough, and we're all sitting there watching this like whatever 16-year-old like fight this. He felt really old at the time, but he's probably like in his 40s or something, you know. It's just like, this is so weird, but yeah, this
that is bananas.
It was crazy. But
so yeah, I see Tim Allen like push Spike into the thing. I'm like, oh geez. But
yeah, and like to go along with my like twisted viewpoint on this though, like I thought Marty was like a creepy high school crush, you know, and he's like,
right,
he'd been following Jamie Lee Curtis, you know.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, I think he's supposed to give off the creepy vibes, especially, yeah, he like knows the names, he knows the street.
Yeah, that's
like,
definitely what I got at the beginning. I was like, oh god, this guy is weird.
But then like it also highlights, like, I mean, we always point out like how weird the concept of Santa is too, right? Like comes down the chimney, has a list of naughty and nice kids.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Santa's a weird dude when you think about it. So we just don't think about it too much. So my Apollonia, this guy was on screen for maybe like 2 minutes. I don't know, but it was his neighbor Wes that he borrowed the tree from. I thought
stand-up guy.
They had such like a cool chemistry, he and Tim Allen. And I can't remember the actor's name. I looked him up, but like, I want to see that movie. I want to see like the not buddy cop movie, but like the buddy movie where like I want to watch those two characters like watch a Bears game together. You know what I mean? Just like,
for sure.
I don't know. I just liked the chemistry they had. I thought, I mean, his name in the movie is Wes. This is opposite for me. Usually I can't remember his
name is Mark Christopher Lawrence.
That guy. I really like him. I don't know anything about him. Mark Chris Law. He I don't know. I just liked him. So yeah, what is it? Mark Christopher Lawrence?
Yep.
Yeah, he gets my Apollonia Award.
That's a great pick. Yeah, I love that.
But
scene.
I just want to watch their sitcom. I want, you know, Home Improvement was Tim Allen and Al Borland or whatever his name is.
And Spike.
Yeah. I want the sitcom of Tim and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
That neighborhood, like that cast in that neighborhood would make a great series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time. Can I give a quick honorable mention to David Hornsby, who plays Randy Becker? So he plays the neighbor Ned, who gets stuck on the roof when the party starts. Plays his son. He plays Rickety Cricket in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yep.
There you are! What are you doing?
I'm working on my moves.
What moves?
For my musical. I'm writing a musical, you guys.
Where are our drugs?
Yeah, the drugs. I sold the drugs.
Good! Give us the money!
Spent the money on these sweet-ass kettle drums. Look at these.
Those are trash cans!
Trash cans, Cricket! Oh, these are trash cans? Then why do they sound like this? You guys, you gotta make it sexy. Hips and nips. Otherwise, I'm not eating.
That is like 1,000,000% of that guy. You know, kind of a role where you're like that's the guy. And I think he's only on screen like twice or three times. And the first time we see him on screen is when his dad, Ned, gets electrocuted trying to put up all the lights. And he's just on the porch drinking a beer and just laughing his ass off. And it is so funny. It's crazy.
Is he the one that kind of like guides the police car in when he... Dude, I love that. Whoa.
Dude, he electrocutes himself trying to like light it all. But then he also brings the car cop. Yeah. Yeah, that was I'm so glad someone else picked up on Cricket being in there.
Yeah. Go Cricks.
That's great.
Cricket. I don't know. I'll save it till the end. Never
Are you
mind.
sure?
Positive.
Okay. All right.
Never been more sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait till the end. Jeez. Okay. Now we want to move on to our segment, a new segment that we've had, one of our favorite segments. We tried to take it out, but the fans wanted it back in. So we put it back in, popular demand. We didn't want to lose subscribers. It's the Adam Driver Drive-In Double Feature. And what this is you get the chance to pair this movie with the movie. You get to pick whether it goes first or second. But we want to know what you show this movie with and why. And, you know, what's going to sell tickets and or what's going to convince people, you know, to see what you see about this movie. And let's go, Ethan.
I think this was hard for me. This was hard because I didn't know whether I should go kind of in the same vein of like a Christmas comedy, or if I should, back to back it with kind of getting some more range and going with maybe some depth or animation or something different lines, right? And then I said, what the hell? And I said, just give me more Tim Allen. And so my double feature would be Christmas with the Kranks and then the Santa Claus. I think those are just two absolute Tim Allen bangers when you talk about Christmas movies. Really, I think Christmas with the Kranks should go first because it kind of puts you in this nice light state where it's really not a heavy movie at all. You can kind of like watch it and then maybe like go get some ice cream and like miss a couple minutes and not really worry, and like that kind of style to it. And then right afterwards you toss down the Santa Claus and you open with some just killer lines in the Santa Claus where it's there's tons of traffic that's not very ladylike, and you've got all kinds of just A1 Tim Allen stuff.
You got Neil.
And you got Neil.
Love Neil.
Classic.
Shouts to
and
Neil.
Like and it's way more full of heart and family and more emotion, and you kind of like are slowly crescendoing the entire time to this very nice ending in the Santa Claus. And whatever, like 3 hours of Tim Allen for Christmas. I wouldn't say no. If my local movie theater put that on as a double feature, I'd be there literally as many days as they would show it. I would be there.
That's great.
That's what
Never going to happen in Portland, but it's the wrong
Let's get
time
that
for
in
a
Iowa.
Tim
I have to
Allen
buy my
double
own
feature.
theater. It'll happen in 20 years. I'll buy my own theater and I'll prove
You're
you
going to
wrong,
have to go to
Tyler.
Salem or
Perfect.
Klamath Falls or something.
McMinnville.
Somewhere
Yeah.
a little more red, yeah.
Just a disclaimer, when you go back and you listen to this episode, Ben is 100% going to throw in a Neil clip.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Nice
I
sweater,
love
Neil.
Like, where are you going to get more sweaters after the circus pulls out of town?
So Ethan went like heartwarming. I'm gonna lean into the cranky side here, and we're gonna start the night with we're gonna start the night with Christmas with the Kranks, and then we're gonna roll right into Bad Santa. We're gonna go straight into more like the
crankier.
kids have gone to bed. Yeah, much
It's
crankier,
Christmassier and crankier.
and I feel like if this movie, like, it's kind of what I was saying earlier with the studio notes and whatnot. But I feel like if this movie had gone that route and been a little more adult, even if it was like more PG-13, you know what I mean? Like, I think it could have been really fun. I think it could have been good. And I still had fun with the movie. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, but like, I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to try and fix every movie, but I feel like if it had leaned into being less cute, if it had more of the tone of Bad Santa, I felt like it would have done it some favors. So.
Now the narrator's going to come in and say, Tyler watched it 4 more times that night.
Tyler has been watching it nonstop.
Well, yeah, we'll do a montage at the end of the episode. Says Tyler went on to watch this 5 more times.
Wait, I just realized. Oh no, never mind.
Okay.
I'm out of my mind. Don't worry.
What have you been doing all day, man? Jeez, come on. My first thought was the movie Four Christmases. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. It
I think
really
so.
parallels this one pretty well, but it's Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon.
Oh yeah,
basically
like that
trying
movie.
to take the cruise, that they were gonna go on, but then flights get canceled, whatever, so they have to stay home, and so then they have to like go. Both their parents are divorced, and they have to go spend 4 Christmases with each parent. So it's a pretty funny movie. I like the Jon Favreau role in that quite a bit, but I'm gonna switch it up to something that I think is a little less known. Not that 4 Christmases is super popular, but the movie The Night Before. Have any of you guys seen that with Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony
I like
Mackie?
that movie.
I really
like
want to
that
see it.
movie
I
a
haven't
lot.
seen it yet.
It's good.
really, really good. And I think, like, to Tyler's point, like, I would want to start out with Christmas with the Kranks because it's like, takes place on Christmas Eve, whatever, and then jump to this one. This is also a Christmas Eve movie where 3 friends get together, and it's kind of like, they're like, I think a couple of them are in serious relationships. Like, they get to go out and do something, and that's like, well, what do we do? Like, we're just like adult guys now. I don't know exactly what to do, but it's a great. I had a great time with it. I haven't watched it in a little while, but the cast is awesome. Besides those 3, I mean, Michael Shannon is in it, so I feel like I could just stop right there. But you also get like Tracy Morgan, Nathan Fielder, Alana Glazer. Like it's got a great cast.
Lizzie
It's a really
Kaplan.
funny movie. What's up?
I stand Lizzie Kaplan.
Lizzie Kaplan, Jillian Bell. Like there's so many good people. Mindy Kaling.
Bell.
So I think that's what I'd go with. Just kind of keep the Christmas Eve theme alive. Do the family friendly stuff first, and then we'll jump into the night before.
Awesome.
I dig it.
So
That's
my approach is a little bit different. It's very star driven. I'm gonna introduce a lineup that's just Jamie Lee Curtis, back to back double feature. And you know what?
I got no quibbles. No quibbles with
No,
JLC.
okay.
qualms.
I was waiting for one. I paused
Yeah.
just to see. But I mean, we don't really have Thanksgiving movies. If you disagree with that and you know of a Thanksgiving movie, leave it in the comments. We'll worry about that later.
Planes,
But
Trains, and Automobiles.
Tyler,
In the comments,
we'll
Tyler.
worry about that
He said
later.
leave it in the comments. Don't say it now.
God, come
sorry,
on,
in
Tyler.
the
Get it together.
Oh, you said in the comments, not make your comments now.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
There's not a ton of Thanksgiving movies, so I'm just gonna say, since there's none, that Knives
There's
Out.
not one.
I'm counting Knives Out as a get the family together Thanksgiving movie,
Mhm.
and we'll kick off Knives Out. We'll see Jamie Lee Curtis play that role, and then we'll get Thanksgiving out of the way. For all you Thanksgiving people, I won't get on the soapbox tonight, but people get really upset about skipping over Thanksgiving, and there you go, guys. Knives Out.
Now
Okay,
you got it.
there you
You're
go.
welcome.
God,
Finally.
jeez, we didn't want to have to do it, but there we did it.
I like that it's in like order of the holiday, but Jamie Lee Curtis will like de-age by like 20 years or something in this. I think
It's a
that's
Christmas
great.
miracle.
Like,
Yeah.
we're going Silver
Christmas
Fox,
miracle.
Jamie Lee Curtis to just Fox, Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, then you get right into Jamie Lee Curtis, and you get to see her range, and that's going to be worth your $10 to go to that drive-in.
I mean,
Just
triple
to-
feature. Are you doing this with the original Halloween? Is that what you're doing? If you're doing a triple feature, let's get all three holidays, all three
Why
Jamie
not?
Lee Curtis.
Yeah, there you
Let's
go.
party.
Yeah,
Let's party.
I love it. I love it. Then New Year's Eve,
Genius.
True Lies. New Year's. I don't know if there's a holiday attached to that, but might as well be. That's great. Those are some great lineups. I would love to see all of those. And I would also love to hear what our Christmas movie Rushmore is.
These are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
Now, for those of you who have hung around us for a while, we did this ages ago. You don't need to message us or email us. We get tons of emails saying, you guys already did this. And we're like, we know.
The intern's busy, guys. Leave him alone.
So we've done this, but it's a new year. We've all seen different Christmas movies since last time we did this. So it's a good time to refresh it and see what's changed, see where we're at. So Ethan, what are your top 4 Rushmore Mountain Christmas movies?
Top 4 Rushmore. This is like set in stone or set in clay? Can I like come back next year and revise?
We'll have
This-
the
you know,
intern
or am I
chisel
taking us
out
to
a
the
new
grave?
face.
This is set in snow.
Set in
Set in snow. Oh, even better. Perfect.
Like
Okay,
it.
great. Well, I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna kick it off with Tim Allen, and I'm gonna go the Santa Claus. I feel like since we just spent an entire episode talking about Christmas with the Kranks, I'll leave it off of my Rushmore for now. Or you know what? No, I'm gonna put it on the Rushmore. I'm making it
there we go.
audible. I'm
There we
taking.
go.
I'm taking a game time decision.
There we
Game time
go.
decision.
You're going to get some
we're
hate
going-
mail for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
brought
We're
you
gonna
on
get
for a
some
reason.
Okay, we're going with the Santa Claus because that's just an absolute classic, and you cannot go a Christmas without watching the Santa Claus. That is what it is. And then I'll go with Christmas with the Kranks, personal Christmas favorite right there. Then I'm gonna go with a little less loved. I feel like a lot. I feel like from what I hear from people, they're kind of freaked out about this movie. It is the Polar Express. It is one of the first all mocap like animated movies that there was at the time. Tom Hanks voices like 6,000 characters. It's
Yeah.
It's a hoot. You get Steven Tyler is an elf in the very end and puts on a rock concert, and like it's pretty impossible not to like the Polar Express.
You get Josh Groban. Josh Groban's doing the music for it, right?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And gosh, yeah, it's full of good stuff. You get some good lines and good moments in that movie too. And I think, it's nice. Mix it up, add some animation, a little different. And then to round out, my fourth pick is going to be Miracle, the Disney movie about the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team. Even though Christmas is not at the core of this movie, there is a lengthy scene in which they are celebrating a Christmas Eve dinner together, and they play football on Christmas Eve, and they exchange presents, and we hear a Christmas song, and that's enough for me.
And Kurt Russell's now Santa Claus on Netflix, so
exactly. It was pre-Santa Claus Kurt Russell, so that's all we need.
It's crazy because I saw your list, and I was like, Miracle, oh, not the hockey movie. He must just be like abbreviating Miracle on 34th Street.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
But it's like, nope, Miracle. That's the one.
No,
I was like,
it's
cool,
the hockey
man.
movie,
That's
man.
awesome.
It's the hockey movie.
It's so
Gotta
good.
be. That movie is so slept on, it's ridiculous. People talk about really good Disney movies. Never hear that in the conversation. This needs to change.
We'll have you back on for Miracle.
We'll allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
We gotta do a Kurt Russell round.
Well, that would be fun.
That would be really fun.
I'm glad that our Christmas Rushmores are etched in snow, because I think mine would change by the day. So the way I filled it out tonight was just like, what 4 movies do I want to watch right now? And the first one's always going to be Christmas Vacation.
Shitter was full!
I could watch that movie anytime, but I choose to always save it for Christmas for various reasons. The Santa Claus has always been a heavy rotation in my family's Christmas tradition. And then the claymation Rudolph. I don't know. Is it just called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? I don't know. With the Misfit toys and
the Misfit toys. Are you talking possibly about the other one as well, the Year Without a Santa Claus, or are you actually talking about Rudolph? Because the Year Without a Santa Claus is better, but. I didn't know if you wanted your Rushmore to be consisted of lesser things.
That's a different conversation.
Listen, Ethan, I could pull Miracle off your Rushmore real quick.
Well, this is
so you let me have my claymation.
We're not trying to have a war on Christmas, guys, here. This is not a war on Christmas. And yes, I am saying that for the buzzword so that this gets some clicks.
Yes.
Yeah. SEO, baby.
War on Christmas.
SEO, baby.
This week on Three
one of
Films
our
the
hashtags.
Podcast. Ethan from and then rounding it off, Jingle All the Way. I haven't seen it in a while, and I really want to watch it. So my wants to watch Christmas Rushmore is those 4 movies.
I love that.
I like it. Yeah, I guess in an attempt, as always, to not have any duplicates, I am going to go with the original animated Grinch movie from Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966. I think that one is a classic. I love that one. Batman Returns. I think definitely going to take that because Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, like that whole movie is great. And I don't know, still maybe the best Bruce Wayne out there. Hard to say. Nightmare Before Christmas. I've talked about that so much on this podcast, so I don't need to talk about that anymore. And then, I don't know. I know I don't like duplicates, but I can't bring myself to take Elf off of the list. Like, I love Elf. It's just, it's too good. I thought about putting Christmas Vacation on, but I mean, if I'm just honest with myself, Elf is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's what I was going to put other than the claymation Rudolph. But I figured, yeah,
it'll get brought up.
Yeah.
Since Batman got brought up and Year Without a Santa Claus got brought up, it's worth noting that Year Without a Santa Claus, it plays in Batman and Robin, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, who's also in Jingle All the Way,
Look at that.
sings and dances to it.
That was
Synergy,
crazy,
baby.
Yeah. It's just Christmas,
It's there.
gets jungled up.
Man.
Yeah, just jingles around in my head. It's crazy. Mine, the original unsung gem, Mixed Nuts.
Yep.
Is my number one.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I watch it exactly once every year. I love it with my whole body. Home Alone 2. It's got
Is
Tim
that what
Curry.
made your mustache grow? Your anticipation for watching it this year?
That's that. You got it. I was gonna see if you got it.
I did.
Elf, because all the reasons Ben said, and we all put it on our lists. All of us did, and It's a Wonderful Life.
What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Because I like throwing it back with James Stewart.
Gonna be talking about that in 2 weeks, which will be a first watch for me. That was my pick for this round. I'm excited to finally check it out.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll be there, Matt, to tell us why it's so good.
Yep, I'll do what I can to get you guys to watch
free.
it. I'll give you guys my elevator pitch.
We're gonna need it.
So Tyler, you mentioned there was something that you wanted to talk about, that you wanted to bring up. Now's the time.
So
Tyler time. New segment.
When our boy
Tyler, now it's time for Tyler time.
Settle in for Tyler time. Oh, I hate
Tyler
that.
time after dark.
All right. Well, if it's after dark, let me take another sip of whiskey. No, so
through you.
When Luther falls off the roof and is hanging by his foot, did you guys see the ladder hit the fireman in the face?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Was that on purpose? Or I can't
There's no
figure
way
this
that was
out.
on purpose.
And they kept the cut. I just have so many questions because they put in Foley of the ladder hitting him in the face. You can hear it hit him. They didn't capture that sound on set. That's Foley. So they kept the cut. It's just such a strange choice. There's no way it was on purpose, and they kept the cut in. I don't know.
They should have thrown in a Wilhelm scream.
They should.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
If there's a Wilhelm scream when Luther falls off the roof, followed by the ladder hitting the guy in the face, then this is a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think there's just another illustration of what is this movie trying to do? Why did you keep that in? Is this movie in on the joke or is it not? I still can't.
I wanted it was the only take they had, so they just embraced it. Well, we can't hide it. Let's just do that.
Put a sound effect over it.
12-hour day. The union was getting mad. They had to let everyone go home.
We just got to do it.
And go ahead.
No, please.
Well. So when Dan Aykroyd, this was going to be my elevator pitch, but it seemed a little too, if you see this scene, then you don't need to see the rest of the movie when he's rallying the troops, you know what I mean? To get the house together. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to show for my elevator pitch. But then I'm well, then I have to explain why they're doing this. And then you don't need to watch the rest of the movie. You can just watch the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when he says, drop everything you're doing and pitch in, I had to rewind it because I thought he said, drop everything you're doing in pig shit. And I think that would have been such a good line. I'm that's something I want to work into the things that I say.
Drop what you're doing and pitch in.
Drop everything you're doing in pig shit. You got to come help me.
I mean,
I just had
that's a real Logan Roy line right there,
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I'm saying. If that movie was in, or if that line was in the movie, then this movie is so much better,
Yep.
But
I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
what are you going to do?
I do think this is the best movie that's ever been directed by someone who did a Revenge of the Nerds movie. So I think it can go without saying. This guy directed Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise. He hasn't directed anything since 2006. I mean, he did this, and then they let him do a movie called Freedom Land. Julianne Moore, Samuel Jackson, Edie Falco. I don't remember that movie at all, but I don't know. I guess next is Surviving Christmas. Is that next year? Yeah, is that your pick?
Yeah, gotta figure out what Ben was doing.
Gotta figure
out how Ben did it. Ben Affleck.
These two up against Polar Express. It was a great Christmas from 2004.
Yeah.
Gosh, money.
Cool. Well, thanks, Ethan, again for coming on. Do you want to take a second to plug and let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start with our newest podcast that Ben and I are actually part of, 24 Minutes of A24. Comes out every single week. We take 24 minutes to look at the A24 movie library and try to pick a movie, break it down. A24 has a lot of new releases coming out in this towards the end of the year, so we're going to be taking a look at all of those. We've got Come On, Tragedy of Macbeth, Red Rocket, all kinds of good stuff.
Always exactly 24 minutes. We've never once gone over.
On the dot.
Exactly. And that's the promo of our podcast. If we go 1 second over, we'll give you a $100 A24 store gift card. So
that's true.
Absolutely hold us to that. And then personally, I'm over at 15 Minutes of Marvel. That's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to shows. Follow me on Twitter at 15Minute Marvel. Twice a week, Wednesday and Friday, break down all the latest Marvel goodness in 15 minutes, which also does not ever go over 15 minutes.
Never.
So that's pretty cool. And, we've got Hawkeye starting up. We've got Spider-Man No Way Home coming. And, wow, that was crazy that I just said No Way Home coming. And it was like a conjunction of all of the titles at once.
Edit that out.
That was crazy. And so, yeah, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home on the way and all kinds of good stuff. So go subscribe and listen to the shows. And thanks for having me, guys. Awesome. This was a blast. I have literally just been living my dream for the past hour talking about this movie.
Dude, it's always such a great time. Thank you so much for coming back on. And I'm sure we'll have you on again
for sure.
Going forward. Thank you all for listening. You know where to find us, 3filmspod.com. And we'll catch you next episode.
See ya.
That goes for me double.
That's the line.
So, Dennis and Dee Reynolds here.
Inaugural podcast. We're talking technology today, the big T.
Absolutely. Everyone's talking about technology these days because it's everywhere.
Oh, it is. You can't escape it.
You absolutely can. So, Dee, tell us what you feel about technology. What's your opinion on it? Did it?